Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Just Talking About Jesus. I have Carl and Shirley Yates with me today, and do they have an interesting ministry that you are not going to want to miss? So, welcome, Shirley.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Jen.
Carl. Yes. Shirley, you starting with you. Could you share about your testimony? You've been a Christian all your life, or you had some kind of moment, or what happened
Well,
with
I grew up in a Christian home. Can't say it was not without its dysfunction, but one of the things that my family did do is they went to church every time the church doors were open, and it was that grounding that in later years when I was in college age, and I chose to not listen to literally not listen to what the Lord was trying to tell me, and I walked away from Him. That it was there though that I knew I could run back. At one point in my life, I was able to run back to the Lord and say, "Forgive me," and redeem me. And that's what and see how He restored me, and how He healed me from shame, and how He just and seeing His hand in my life. Even then, He had His hand in my life. He saw me then. He loved me then, and He cared for me then, and He wooed me back to Him. And when I made that choice that I'd rather have Jesus than anything, and I remember the Sunday I got up to sing that very song in my home church. I'd come back after running away from the Lord and doing my own thing, and I got up and made that statement. And in that song is that I'd rather have Jesus than anything, riches or fame or anything else. It's Jesus that really matters, and that's been our the mantra and the core of what we do, even with those that are incarcerated.
hmm hmm
They doesn't matter what they've done or where they've been. God still loves them. God still sees them, and God has a plan and a purpose for their life, even if that plan and purpose is behind bars for the remainder of their life.
hmm Yeah. But don't you think that if you had not fallen away from him for a while, that it's not quite it's almost a better relationship when you come back? I don't know.
I don't advise to do that,
Right.
but if that is the case, yeah, it's
But
not the end.
yeah, yeah. And I think you realize that more. And I think your eyes for empathy are different, for
Yeah,
other people and their understanding when you've had that
sure,
kind of a relationship that,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and even still, you just keep learning and loving and coming closer and closer, right?
Yeah, I think those things that happen in your life, whether that in the family situation that I was in, and all that transpired there, gave me a greater empathy for a lot of different kinds of people. And you see them going through those same issues, and you say that, but God is still bigger than all of that. He's still bigger than all of those things,
Yeah.
and he has the answer and the not only the antidote, but he has the answer and the remedy for those things.
Yeah. 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 And you can say that from your own experiences,
Yeah,
Yeah.
this,
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Carl?
Well, very similar in a lot of ways. I remember my dad as a teenager telling me that he thought I was heading for prison if I kept going the direction I was going. And the Lord got a hold of me when I was between my junior and senior year, and he basically asked me, what is your life getting you now? And I had to admit nowhere. And so I said, if I come back, I can't come back. I didn't want to come back as just a pew sitter, just going through the motions of Christianity. I wanted to live the life. And since then, it's been quite a, quite a ride. That's all I can say. I got involved in the Jesus People movement really in college up in Seattle. Uh, I don't know if you remember who Father Bennett was, but
Yep.
that was going on in Seattle. I went to that church a couple times, but it was just all the stuff we were doing. Friends of mine were ex-hippies and all that stuff. And then my father passed away, and I moved to Coos Bay, and this friend and I, he was out of the Foursquare Church. First time I was ever in a Foursquare Church that I remember. And we hooked up, started doing youth work, street work in Coos Bay, and we had a young revival going on and stuff. And then I went in the military for a while, and when I come back from overseas, I was stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado, and that's where I met Shirley at church, and yeah, the Foursquare Church there in Colorado Springs. So
And
that's how
life
we got.
just got better from there.
I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. So I went to Life Bible College prior to meeting Carl. So and so that was, when I went away to LA, that's when I decided to do my own thing, even though I was in Bible school. And so, I mean, you can be looking pretty good on the outside, and still, when things aren't right on the inside, it'll meet up with you eventually. And it did with me too. And so when I came back to Colorado, and I came back, I needed to get back to where I started. And the Lord had a plan and a purpose, and He had somebody for me to, for Carl and I to meet. And that was the beginning of, our life together.
Yeah, and we've always done. We started out doing youth work at the church in Colorado Springs, and that was a part of our life for quite a while and stuff. And then we were in Olympia. I was still a soldier at Fort Lewis, and the church there we were part of kind of didn't grow for 4 years. It actually went backwards, but then it took off, and the Lord really blessed, and we got to be a part of a pretty exciting church that is now, I don't know, 1,500 or 2,000 or whatever number they are now. But we got to see all that happen and stuff. So we've, the Lord has blessed us with being a part of some really
Amazing
neat,
churches.
yeah, amazing churches and neat things that have happened. And
Boulder, Colorado. We were in Boulder. Like you said, we were in Olympia, Lacey, Washington, and Lord blessed us everywhere we went, and it honored us and humbled us to be able to be a part of churches that just to see the Holy Spirit move in such a magnificent way, and many people come to know Jesus, and just getting to experience all kinds of people from all different social strata. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
then we were in Canby for a while, and then I ended up getting teacher's credentials, and I started out in public school, but realized that wasn't going to work for me. And I took a job in Roseburg, Oregon, in a Christian school,
Mhm.
and Shirley and I commuted back and forth, actually back to Canby, but for a year. But the next
That's
year,
a long drive.
oh yeah, it's a long drive. Yeah. But next year she coming down, and anyway, make a long story short, I ended up teaching down there for about 22, 23 years. And Shirley was children's pastor at the Foursquare Church there in town and stuff. And I was involved with the youth and drove the school bus for them and this and that.
So we've been involved, and that was there when we were in Roseburg that there was a change in our ministry. And Carl began to, there was a Baptist church there that had been going to, taking a group of people to California with the Bill Glass Weekend of Champions. And Bill Glass started a ministry back in 1969. He was a defensive back for the Cleveland Browns. And it was because of his notoriety on the football field that he was invited to come and share his testimony to a group of prisoners in prison. And he said, I have a quote here from him. He says, I was thrown into it, kicking and screaming, but the response from the inmates was just unbelievable. And that birthed in him a ministry called Bill Glass Weekend of Champions.
Yeah.
And Carl, we started going there on the first weekend of May. For many years, we did that ministry, went with them. And that, my experience, I'll share quickly. My experience, Carl he went for probably 5 years before I had an opportunity to go. And I remember when I went the very first time, I walked through those prison gates and they closed behind me. I had an experience that I was not expecting. And I hadn't even met one inmate yet. And I was walking into Chowchilla there in California. And when that gate closed, I looked around at all the wire and the brick, and I thought, I've come home. And
Really?
I thought, I could not believe it. I actually was fortunate enough to be an MC for that event. And I was an MC for that event for several years after that. And I fell in love with those women behind those incarcerated, those women behind the walls. Um, and that just began what we do now for me. And then Carl has got his story as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I started driving bus for this group, and we actually would drive down to Fresno, uh, where there was about, anywhere, I'd say up to 600 people showed up. I mean, it was amazing. There'd be a whole group of bikers and people from all different walks of life. And then the people that Bill Glass actually invited to come and speak were professionals.
Celebrities.
I mean, celebrities and in a lot of different ways. But there were football players and basketball players, Secret Service people. I remember meeting uh, cruise boat captain, race car driver. There was all these,
An
and country.
ex-con.
Oh yeah, big time country ex-con. That he was called Murph the Surf. Back in the '60s, he was like one of America's most wanted it for a while, diamond thief and all that.
Where did he have a testimony?
Oh
Wow.
yeah, but all these different people would come, and then they would split up. We would be assigned different groups, and we'd split up and go into these different yards, and they would put on a show. I remember one of the Walendas would show up, and he had his practice tightrope
Mm.
and stuff. But they put on a show, and then they would give their testimony, and then they would turn it over to us to share with the prisoners.
Mm.
And you're just right there in the block with them. You can't put on a face or a show, because if you do, they can read right through it. They know you're a phony right from the beginning if you're a phony. And I realized, not, very soon into this, I wasn't any different than they are. I
Mm.
had same faults, same sins in my heart, that I've dealt with, and a lot of the same struggles, and so it's very interesting. Bill Glass, boy, he had a wonderful way of speaking when he spoke, and he talked about men who are estranged. Either they didn't have a father, or they're estranged from their father in some ways, and that's so many of those men in prisons. That's the story there. And he talked about what we need to do, to and stuff, and so anyway, I learned a lot and met
Yeah.
a lot of interesting people, both behind the bars and those that came in
Yeah.
to share.
I think one of the really wonderful parts that really helped Carl and I too in this ministry is that part of the mission statement for Bill Glass was to equip the church in igniting their an understanding, and also give them experience and teaching on how to share their faith with other people, especially total strangers. And that was one of the key things that happened. You had the night before you went into prison, they had a night where they trained you up. And I was a leader for a long time. All the time we went, I happened to be in a position of leadership, but I learned so much. And that you went in prepared,
Mm.
and you had a track that you shared with them. And to see how the Holy Spirit you'd be standing there with 30 women around you, And yes, just you and 30 women, and with all kinds of things in their past, and see the Lord just move, and just they just it's just is amazing. It was just so amazing. And from that, the ministry that we do now, unfortunately, we're not able to go back in to the facility. We just physically can't do that as we could years ago. And so, but the Lord opened up an opportunity through Bill Glass for us to be able to write the prisoners. So when they fill out their format, their paperwork there at the event, they put down whether or not they wanted to get letters.
Mhm.
And so from that information, I began writing women in prison.
Mm.
And I started that, and we started maybe with 30 women, or a few women. Now I have right now I have 130 women I write. And it's just, I write just one letter and send it out to them, and I send them teachings and that, but I send them everyday story, everything. Just share with them what we do every day.
That's what
And
I was going to ask is like, what kind of things did you write? Yeah.
so I go ahead. Do you want to share something? And then I'm
Oh,
going to share some letters.
true. It varies, you know. We also send them Christian literature. I love to send the guys the book Bruchko, which is you can get it on YWAM or Amazon or Christian book distributors. And it's a story about a young man who's a missionary on his own to South America with the Montalone Indians. It's a very fascinating story. But I sent him others as well,
Mhm.
encouraging stories that they really be inspired by, as well as Bibles and Christian literature when we need to and stuff. And some of the guys, I mean, I have a few guys that were really encouraging for me. I mean, they really
Yes.
spoke
Right.
the word and
Yes.
spoke it powerfully.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
and other guys that are in struggle and they needed answers and then so you get a variety and yeah.
We I usually ask them if they want, we don't send them money, but we send them Bibles if they choose. If they ask for a Bible, for the ladies, I send them a Bible, or I send them a journal and a journal. And that's because they want to, encourage them in their Bible reading. But I want to read just a few letters. These are just excerpts, real quick excerpts from letters that I received just really recently. Back in August, I had someone write this to me. It says, "Thank you for your most welcome correspondence. I'm uplifted each time I open up your mail or your cards. Your kindness keeps us human, whole inside, hopeful, looking forward towards tomorrow, and humble, and feeling loved and worthy of all your prayers. I am thankful, and God bless you both. I
Wow.
am thankful that you have made me feel like I have not been forgotten.
Mm.
Hello there, youngster. I was very happy to receive your letter and beautiful greeting card. That card made me feel so special. Thank you so much, Mrs. Shirley, for always thinking of us that are incarcerated. Your letters, cards, and fellowship is a true testament of God's love.
Mhm.
Inside the letter, your cards requested that we write to you, and so I wanted to let you know I want to continue to get your letters. Your cards and letters always seem to reach me at the perfect time."
Mm.
And then the last one here is, "They bring me a sense of family and a godly wisdom. Hearing of how you and Brother Carl make a way to do the work of our Lord Jesus has put on your hearts gives me strength. Thank you both for your love and care and persistent faith that you share. You continually share what matters. Jesus in big letters and underlined an exclamation mark. I truly adore you both."
Oh.
So uh, around Christmas time,
Mm.
well before Christmas, the people that write us, we send them a list so they can put up in their bulletin board, and they get permission, of course, to do that. And all the guys that in their
So,
cell block who want a Christmas card can put their name on there
Okay.
and their number. And so we send them, and we've had some interesting responses. Sometimes it was like months and months later, somebody is looking at one of those cards and decides to write it. And
it's so it's so cool because first of all, we have to tell you that the Christmas cards that we send these prisoners are not just your normal Christmas card. These are cards that are created by David and Helen Hadel. Now they're authors. He's an artist and she's an author, children's author, and she's been an author for many, many years, has many books that were published for children. But about probably 15, 20 years ago, they had God just birthed in them an idea to send and create a Christmas card full of gospel for those that are incarcerated.
Mhm.
And they're beautiful cards. And they have ample space on the inside for us to write. And what's so interesting is many of the people that we ask, well, what we do here in the community is we ask, does anybody want to fill out a Christmas card for a prisoner? And some people are a little, oh, they don't know if they want to do that. But
Yeah.
we give them instructions on how to do that. We give them a name of a person and a number. They send a personal card with their name on it, a personal message to that person. And what's really neat is a lot of those people aren't even Christians that fill out the cards, but
Mm.
they have to read the cards too, and they're just full of the gospel.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I have one dear lady who fights it every year. She goes, "Do we have to use these cards? I'll buy you cards if you want me to buy you cards." And I go, "No, you're going to have to use our cards." So she willingly does it, and she does a beautiful job writing. And I had someone tell me, a lady in our community who is well known and has a high position in our community, not to mention any names, but she said to me the other day, she was talking to a group of people and she saw me there and she says, this lady right here, she does this thing with Christmas cards for prisoners. She says, I look forward every year to filling out those 15
Oh,
cards for those prisoners.
yeah.
And I don't know where she is with the Lord, but I do know that I appreciate that. So we have sent over 1,000 cards every Christmas, and so we pay for the postage. We the Lord blesses us, and we have we have people that give to our
Yeah,
ministry.
people to help. Yeah.
And the people in the community, we've had Christmas signing parties where people come and Christmas card signing parties, and they come and fill the cards out. And out of those cards, then we get cards back from the prisoners that say, will you write me?
Yeah.
And so that's where all this, I mean, it keeps flowing and going. And then for me, for a while, Carl and I were doing the youth authority up here. We were going up there to Warrenton to the youth authority until they moved that to Portland. But just recently, probably in the last few months, I have been able to go into the women's jail. And so I do a Bible study with another lady here in this community, and we do that every Tuesday night. We go into the women's jail, and it is so wonderful. Again, like I said, I get excited to go in every week. I get so excited to go in, and just I don't know who's going to
Hey,
be there.
I mean, when you see when you're doing that and really you get as much out of it because you're in the right spot. You know you're doing what God wants you to do, and he just totally blesses you with everything,
And
you
you
know.
see
Oh
what
yeah.
God's doing and speaking in their lives. We've had, I mean, all right, so exciting is that and this next week we're going to do it again, where people that happen to be in there, but they have a background. And when we sing songs, we sing Amazing Grace and How Great Thou Art and that Waymaker and those songs that we sing, they know them because they've been a part of a church somewhere
Where
or they've grown up in church. And then then some of them are really, they know their scriptures and they know the Bible. So we'll say, well, do you want to lead the Bible study next week?
yeah,
And yeah, so like this next week, we've got one of the gals that's going to be leading the Bible study.
that's
And
awesome.
it is just crazy. We walk out every week with a smile on our face, just knowing that God is so good and
Mhm.
he's on the move. And I just love the fact when people get their lives restored and redeemed. And we have a few stories of those. by the way.
So tell me some of the like most impactful, I mean, I know you've got dozens and dozens, but stories of people that you really bonded with or gotten to, um,
What
see
about Phil?
changes.
Well, one of the guys I visited for about 10 years, this wasn't through Bill Glass. Actually, it was through that fellow I had worked with in Coos Bay. It was his son.
Mm,
And he ended up in Ontario, Oregon at Snake River.
hmm.
And at that time, Shirley's folks were still living in Colorado Springs, same house she grew up in. And whenever we would go and visit, we'd make a stop there. Sometimes I drove out there. It was from Roseburg and it was an 8 hour trip out there and back. But the Lord bless that. I mean, I was so uh, privileged to be able to do that. I felt and support support him and my friend.
Right.
And so we did that with several years, and then he got transferred to Madras, and he was there 2 or 3 years. It's really interesting. He ended up in the same cell block as two other people we knew. One of them, one of them accepted the Lord on our couch, but he
Bubbles.
really struggled, and we don't know where he's at now and stuff. The other one had been in Sunday school with Shirley and her Sunday school uh, department in Roseburg at the church there. But anyway, he was there for that length of time, and then on a Christmas, I can't remember what year that was, but on a Christmas, really around Christmas, we were with his parents and his wife when he walked out of that prison after almost 19 years.
Wow.
And yeah, it was pretty amazing and stuff. And the first place we went was to the Black Bear Diner for dinner.
You kept thinking that's where you want to go. That's the first thing you want to do.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, and my friend Otto is gone now, but his wife is still living in Gresham, and he's living there. So we run across him every now and then. But that's
But his son is still doing really, really well, and he's and him and his wife and they just moved
yeah,
on.
yeah, moved on from there.
Been
So
hard. It's been
yeah,
hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was one of my more interesting stories. He actually learned how to paint
Huh.
in in prison, and he did a couple paintings for us and stuff. So
Beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
painting. And
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then
So
as you guys know, doing art in anything creative restores your mind.
yeah,
it does. Yeah, it does. It really does. Because
yeah,
I'm a musician and I love to do art as well. I love to paint and do other things and it is healing, especially the music part.
Yeah.
It's really healing. And my story, I have several of them, but I'm sharing the ladies' stories, but probably the one that probably is the most impactful for me. I'm not going to use her name.
Yeah.
Because I just may send this to her because I was going to try and get her okay beforehand. I'm sure she's fine with this, but so I was working at the church and I left my purse in the car and didn't think much about it. Um, I worked long hours at the church as family pastor, and I went out to get my car one night and um, realized that my purse wasn't there. And then I went back in that church and I looked everywhere for my purse. And when it come to find out, long and short of it, is my purse had been stolen out of my car. From that, also my identity was stolen because I had unfortunately, I'm not very good about not having my social security card and everything all together and all there in that. So I know it was not a good thing. I know. I hear all the time. But because of that, this girl stole my identity and she used my credit cards. And there's a lot to this story, and I won't get into that. But I remember in my anger, I was so upset with this person. I felt so violated. that this person had done this to me. And I was angry. I've been very vindictive. I was going to get this person. That's how I felt about her. And I actually, through a lot of investigation, I found out, I got an email because she, I won't get into how it is I got that, but because of a purchase she made on my card, I was able to get her email. And I remember I went to it one night. I was at the church looking through stuff and trying to do my investigation about her. And it was the night that there was prayer in the church. They prayed every Tuesday night. So I went in there and I was going to have them pray that they, that I find her and I get my social security number back, all this stuff. And I remember one dear brother saying to me, Shirley, I think this is supposed to happen. I think you're supposed to get to know her. Oh, I was so mad. I thought, yeah, I'm going to get to know her. All right. I'm going to get to know her real good. I mean, I was so mad. This was before I was going into the prison, by the way, just FYI. And it come to find out, I did get to know my dear little gal. There's so much to this story, but I have to tell you, I got to know her, got to redeem some things of value for her that she had taken from her. I got that for her. And unfortunately, she went to prison at some point, and I supported her in whatever in that. And then came home, she got out of prison, and we had her live with us for a while, and she stole my identity again. And this time I sent her to prison. Oh, don't tell that one part of the story. Don't tell that. At one point, she was not real happy with us. But she also had a baby at this point, too. And the baby went to be with
her mother.
With her mother. And this little gal went back to prison. So she was in prison twice.
Yeah.
In Oregon.
She managed to get out. And then she was on probation.
She absconded and went to California.
And she absconded and went to California. And we know that it was just going to be a matter of time before she got picked up again. And so what's really crazy about this whole thing, and like I said, we didn't go into all the details, but we were on Shirley was on her way because I was physically, anyway, at that point, incapable of being in those hot yards all day like they did. I'd get sick and stuff. So anyway, I went that time. I'm sorry. Yeah, my memory. Anyway, so I told Shirley, I said, she's going to get picked up. Well, we were on our way to Fresno, and Shirley got a phone call from her mother and said that she had been picked up. And we're not supposed to meet up with people we know in prison. They don't like that and stuff. So
even if they're out, rolling around.
We're kind of cautious about that. We want to follow the rules and all that. And we don't, they'd cut us off if they found out we were purposely doing that. So it didn't. But as it turns out, Shirley normally went into this one yard, and they didn't let her go in that yard, and she was upset about that.
So we have A yard and B yard, and B yard is the one that I had at this point now. She'd been in California now for almost 3 years. This wasn't just something that happened briefly. I heard from her for a couple of years. She kept in contact with me, and then for a year, nothing before she got caught, and she again went back to her lifestyle. But I was really anxious to see my ladies that are in B yard because we've been writing for a long time. But the prison told me that I couldn't do that because I'd been writing these ladies, and they felt I had too much familiarity with them. And so they said, because of that, I had to go to A yard. A yard is the yard that they have for people that are first coming into prison. And so when you have to do that, and so obviously there wouldn't be anybody there that I know because they were just now going into prison. So when her mother was calling me, I'm on my way in to visit with the authorities, with the warden. We have a meeting at the beginning, and I get this phone call from her mom that says, yeah, she's going, yeah, they got her. And they're sending her to some prison there in California for women in some place called Chowchilla. And I said, really? And I'm thinking, and I couldn't believe it. I said, she's going to get a yard. I'm going to get to see her. I hadn't seen her in like over 3 years. And so let me just say what happened was this. I didn't tell anybody anything because, again, we didn't want anybody to know that I knew somebody there. Yeah. So I'm setting up in the yard, and it was before the gals came out. We have like 300, 400 women come out to the yard to hear the program. So I'm setting up the speakers and the sound system and everything. And off in the distance, I hear this voice, Shirley. And I didn't want anybody to know that I knew that person that was calling my name. And so kind of like that. Yeah, I was like, I'm going, yeah, whatever. And I kind of brushed her off, and I'm going, and so and I see her, and so she has to go with everybody else into the inner cell, and before they can come back out together as a group. And so I'm waiting for the group to come out, and they never come out. They never come out. And they've called everybody to come out. And all of a sudden, here comes all of her cell block, and they're coming out, and they're supposed to follow the pathway over to where the meeting area is at. But instead, she cuts across by herself, cuts across the lawn to me. And she's about 10 feet away, and she falls on her knees and she begins to wail. And she says, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. You know, the Lord showed mercy to her. They were able to take her back to Oregon. They gave her time served. And it didn't take very long before that little gal was able to be released, and her life changed. And she sat there, though, that weekend when we were there for 2 days. And that whole time she sat on the front row, the whole time, just bawling her eyes out and just crying. You know, she's a great little gal. She really is.
I was sitting at the men's yard with Bill Glass. I was sitting in a chair alongside of him, and I told him the story. And you know, he of course he knows the rules and knows we're not supposed to beat up the people. And he goes, "Well, that's Providence now, isn't it?" Yeah. Oh yeah, and people have said to Shirley and I both, you know, that they heard, and this person needs to write a book.
Yeah. And what's really neat is that she has told our story many times to many women in prison, when she was in prison, sitting in the cell block. And she's told me we'd sit on the edge of the bed and I tell them our story and we just cry. You know, to know that God is that good. And I'm telling you, that's what it's all about. Yeah. God is in the redemption business. He redeems. And I love this young woman. Yeah. And when we go to Roseburg, because that's where she lives with her family, and she's moved on and she's doing what she needs to do, and we go to where she works, and it's like old home week. We just love each other. And here's this person who gave me a lot of grief. I mean, I was gonna get her all right, but God got her instead, and I'm so glad He did.
Wow, what a story. Wow. So what if somebody wanted to be involved in doing that? What would they need to do?
Well, first of all, if they would love to help us with the Christmas cards, we would love if anybody would like to take, and we give them instructions on how to do that, and if they would like to do that, they could just get a hold of us at I suppose this my email address would probably be the best place to go, and that's Smith, Smith, and then Yates, Yates, and then another S for Shirley, at protonmail.com.
I'll put a link in this. I'll put a link.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. You just email that to us, or if they are local, I have no problem with them calling us as well. You know, and if they would love, we have people that write. I've given them certain names, and the things that they requirements when it comes to writing letters as well. We have no problem with that either. And
well, they could also hook up with Bill Glass for that matter.
Yes.
I mean, with this organization, they travel in different parts of the world into prisons, and some of them are pretty bad.
So
Yeah.
right now, as we're talking right now, there's a Bill Glass group in Malawi, Africa, Malawi. Anyway, Malawi,
Molly.
Mali,
Yeah, I think it's
Mali, Africa. And their testimony, they just go online and see Bill Glass Ministries, and
Is
they
that
have events.
BLASS?
Yeah, BILLGLASS.
Okay.
Bill Glass.
Okay.
And Bill's gone. But that ministry continues to grow and continues, and they have events all over the United States, Texas, Oregon.
Yeah, I've been to Monroe in Washington State, up there, Monroe, and
We always
I
go to
we
California.
well, we took one trip to Idaho, and
Yeah.
it was in prison area outside of Boise, and but mostly in California around the Fresno area, and
Mhm.
there's a lot. It's amazing how many prisons that are within driving distance of that spot. But
They really would like to come to Oregon, like into Portland area and Salem. If we could get a group of people together that said, "Hey, I'd like to be a part of that. I'd like to see what it is we could do to help have that happen,"
Mhm.
because and I've talked several times to the leaders there at Bill Glass, and that would be something we could do because it wouldn't be as far to go and wouldn't be so hard on us physically. I don't think, but
Yeah.
I hope, and it doesn't as hot here as it is in California.
Right.
But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And
yeah, but
what if people wanted to support, to send money or somehow other support?
well, our support is at the Waters Gate is our ministry is what it's called, and we have if they want to just contact us and say if they wanted to do that, we have we funnel all of our money through the Foursquare Church in Toledo, Oregon. He's the ones that oversee us and
keep our books.
keep our books for us. And so it's a nonprofit, and it is tax deductible. And so you get that at the beginning of the year. That's all taken care of, and so everything is well documented. So that's a safe place. Plus, we always let you know too what's happening with newsletters and that.
Mhm.
So
So they can support you by writing letters. They can support by financially. They could support by providing Bibles.
well,
Well,
we do the money. It would have to be the money that,
The
because what
money
we
that
do is we
goes
have to
to the
order the
Bible
Bibles through the
they have
publishing
to,
company.
they have to come through a publisher because
to a
we
Yeah,
certain. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, we can't
Okay.
do it any other way.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so all the monies that comes in, it all goes to the ministry.
Mhm.
It goes to postage, and it goes to the books and Bibles that we send to the prisoners. But if anybody would love to just partner, even if they would want one pen pal that they
Yeah.
would like to write, then we have men write men, women write women. So it would be wonderful if this is something that somebody thinks, well, I really like to do that. I like to see what I could do. Sending so the ladies that I know of, I don't know about the guys, but I know the ladies take these cards. I order a lot of beautiful Christian cards through a Christian books publishing company, and they take these and they decorate their cells with that and their Christmas cards. I've had a gal get a hold of me in the past summer, and said, I just moved here into this cell block, and my cellie has your Christmas card up on her wall, and she said, you need to write her. She'll write you back. And so that's so
Yeah.
what the thing about these Christmas cards or about anything we do here, with this, they might be the only one, we might be the only one that even contacts them, that even treats them like I never ask ever why they're there. If they choose to tell me, that's fine, but I never ask why they're there. And our relationship starts with the time that I get their first letter, and that's we go from there and
Yeah.
just talk about Jesus. I talk about my garden, talk about and we have a post office box. If you're concerned about
Mhm.
you having your address out there, you can funnel all this through us. You can just go ahead and use our post office box, and we'll send the letters on to you. So so there's no, real, there's precautions that everybody makes, but most of these people that are there, not all, but most of them there are there for a long time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Those that aren't, quite honestly, they get out and they're just so glad to get out. They don't want any, they don't get a hold of you. They're happy to go on.
Yeah, there are exceptions.
We do
have a
have
couple
exceptions, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
there are people that this is how cool this is. Carl gets a phone message every morning from a gentleman that he wrote to all for I don't know how many years, but he sends him a scripture verse in the morning. He's in rehab somewhere, or in a group. He's in a transitional place.
He's in a transitional place. A lot of people don't know this, but when you get out of prison, a lot of times there's programs that you have to go to, and you have to pay for, and all that kind of stuff. And it takes months sometimes before you actually get your total freedom.
Mm.
So he only has about a year to go. Well, now it's a whole lot less. And he has a sister back in Minnesota, someplace like that. And his plan is to
go back there.
Go back there and stuff.
But he calls him every morning, texts him every morning. Good morning, brother Yates, brother Carl. And he's been in prison for over 40 years.
Yeah, he was there a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys. Yeah,
Any
go ahead.
last words you want to leave with our listeners, viewers?
Well, just there's a scripture in Hebrews chapter 13, verse 3, says this: remember those in prison as if you were there yourself. Remember also those being mistreated as if you felt their pain in your own bodies. The Lord wants us. He says that we need to be about his business. And that's being about his business. And I didn't think, when I went in there the first time, I thought, well, I have nothing in common with these people. That's not true. I tell these ladies, I said, you can be free in prison, or you can be bound outside of prison.
We've actually had some of ladies in particular say, thank God for prison.
Oh, yes.
Because we would have never found them without going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's amazing.
Wow. And because you said yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you said yes to God. Yeah.
Yeah. He has something for us all to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has really been wonderful.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you for inviting. And thank you for, I guess I did have something to say.
I guess you both did. That's for sure. Okay.
From the day we're born, we begin a journey. It will be molded by our families, our environments, our beliefs, and motivations. God, as the Alpha and Omega, is with us each step of the way, whether we follow him or not. Just as we have our own personal journeys, each character in the Bible has theirs. Each have had their own lessons to learn. And higher than that, God has used each one in his ultimate plan. Discovering your journey, finding God in every step, is an interactive 6-week study that melds the two together. We begin by mapping the journey of our lives leading up to who we are today. Each week, we will dig deep into the lessons God taught the characters of Ruth, Joseph, Jonah, and David, and compare them to our own journeys as we find where God has been in each step of the way. Discovering your journey, finding God in every step includes a study book, a journal, and videos of my own personal stories.